Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
It really was one of my favorite stories we ever touched on in Three Things Today, so we got to do this. That most of us make big life decisions based on a gut feeling, based on intuition, not logic, not planning, not facts. We make big life decisions, like taking a job is based on your gut, or buying a car is about a vibe. Like, this feels like me, you know? Instead of, what's the price tag or what's the, reliability.
Yeah, check the reviews.
I thought that was so cool. I think it must be part of the human condition to make decisions that way.
We're emotional creatures.
Right.
What excites you about that?
I just love it. It's just interesting. And as soon as you read it, or as soon as you heard it, did you think, what have I made? What decisions have I made based on gut, based on my vibe?
Yeah.
I know a big one in my life was you guys. To take this job, to be with you, to be the Jodi of this Murphy, Sam, and Jodi. Because when I first started working with you guys, I was a producer, but I knew that we all had chemistry in the room. I knew it.
Right.
Before you guys did. I remember thinking, these are my people, and they don't know it.
So do you think that was a gut feeling, or is it because you experienced it, and by experiencing it, you knew it? Here's the reason that I'm asking, because, and I would love to hear Sam's thought, because Sam's going to tell you a lot of his gut decisions that probably weren't, That's why he's laughing. I know him. Right?
I know. You think they're all wrong.
But the thing about, and this, here's what I actually love about this, because I do believe that gut calls are important.
Yes.
But you better know where the gut call's coming from before you do that.
Yeah.
And this is actually a book that you gave me, Jodi, and I've read this a number of different times. The problem that you have to be really careful of with intuition are a number of different, they call them cognitive biases.
Yes.
And the problem with those, like one of the biggest ones, and even I'm guilty of this, is it's how we tend to make choices. It's called an anchoring bias. So what happens is, let's say you're starting to look for, Sam, you were looking for an uni.
Pizza oven.
Okay. And you wound up finding one. Well, you wound up finding one on sale, which is great. But you did the pricing. I'll just use this as an example. Since you got the deal, that probably wouldn't apply to you, although it could. So you check it. The first price is $300, whatever. The second price is $250, and then you find one for $50, and you start trying to gauge, okay, what's the difference in here? You're going to base what you think of that $50 price off of the very first exposure that you had. That's why they call it anchoring bias. You have to be very careful about the first thing you come across.
Sure.
Because it's what you judge everything else against.
Your experience.
And you shouldn't do that, right?
In this example, 300 is where it's been in my head where most people are going to put it. So if a $50 comes up, I'm going to be like,
it's a screaming deal.
Right.
What's wrong with this?
Why?
Well, exactly, that too. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, okay, is this cheap? Is it bad or whatever? And that may or may not be true. I mean, your gut actually may be, past experience says, if I buy it cheap, it's probably not going to be great. But if it's the same brand and it's got the track record, like you were talking about, Jodi, with reliability of results and that sort of thing, then now you're actually thinking and comparing, and it's no longer a gut call. But if your first reaction is either, oops, no, don't get that, or, oh, well, yeah, buy that.
It's
Either way,
on.
based on that, that's an emotional reaction, and you're basing it off of the very first thing you were exposed to. And
that's your experience,
and
though.
You may get lucky. Maybe the first thing that you've read or seen or been offered or whatever is the right thing. But sometimes it's not. But it's the only things that we have to compare to, and that's why they say to get second opinions or even third opinions on things. Anyway, but I do. I mean, look, I'm the same way. We're all going to buy off of our vibe,
emotional.
gut, or something that we're passionate about.
Right. And they say that a lot of people have regret with the bigger purchases. Like people have home buying regret. Like if you do it based on the gut, like, oh, this feels like my house, and you can be wrong.
Well,
Makes
yeah.
sense?
If the regret is what price, is that what you're thinking? Like
whatever note
house?
you get into.
I mean, that probably. I mean, I'm sure that happens with cars and homes, all the time.
Yeah.
You love it, and your emotional cognitive bias towards it begins to tell you all the reasons you should. instead of, kind of weighing the facts of why you shouldn't, buy something. And that works in reverse too. People tend to underestimate, and they sell themselves short on things that they actually could do, but not seeing the bigger picture, which that's a fear bias.
I don't know. You're making this more complicated for me than I've thought of
That's
it.
the way my brain works. I'm sorry, but seriously.
Okay.
Hearing fear bias, though, there's plenty of times I've had fear bias.
Which
I
is?
get all the information.
You don't trust.
No, I get it all, but then it's like, yeah, but in that nagging over here, my gut says go this way, but all the numbers and research and all that say this is the way to go.
Well,
and I can't decide.
Well, Murphy's talking about purchases like uni. Or we mentioned homes, but this is about major life decisions. It's not all purchases. Sometimes it's marriage, a home, community, where you want to live, a job you want to take.
Marriage.
Right. You know what? I think you need to give yourself a hall pass on that, because when it comes to love,
well, love is emotion, right?
Love is 100% the strongest emotion. And that's why they say love is blind, deaf, dumb, and stupid, whatever. Love will make you do things that have this is about making decisions not based on logic. And love is not logical.
Yeah, that's true.
At all. It's not. It is 100% feeling.
Yeah, but it's 100% feeling, but you have to make rational decisions off of it too.
Yes.
And, one of our favorite people did that before he got married again.
Dr. Bucky.
Yeah, when Dr. Bucky, before he got married, because his first wife passed, unfortunately, and, he had spent a lot of time getting through that, but he had a list of must-haves. So if he was going to date and he was going to, commit to a marriage again, he knew that regardless of whether he fell in love and got lost in it or not, there eventually were going to be must-haves before he got married.
Right, he had a list of things.
And that's deliberate thinking. Right, exactly. Right. So to me, that's,
a list of things in a partner, and he was very specific.
Yeah. And so it's grounded in left brain and some logic. You know what I'm saying? Yes, of course, love is its own thing.
Yes, it is.
But he wasn't going to jump into a marriage that he thought was not going to be healthy for him.
Correct.
And he had his must-haves, and he knew himself well enough at that point, right, to have his must-haves.
Right.
And, that's a tough thing to do with love, though, because it is slippery slope.
Love will make you do some crazy things in your life that
love
you never
blind.
That you never, intended to do. So when I say big life decisions and you make them, based on a gut feeling or intuition, you immediately go to relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
I mean, I bought houses. I bought a few houses. I bought vehicles. And usually for me on those big purchase things, it comes down to, this is the right thing. I mean, after I've done all the
Facts,
research.
you mean?
That's
okay.
Usually not a gut decision.
You don't do that on gut.
No.
But it's the human stuff that you do on gut. Great. You're a human.
Yeah.
Trust your gut. I like that. Murphy?
Yeah.
Since you brought in the book and the psychological breakdown of decision making, I don't even know. Do you think that you make decisions based on intuition and gut?
It depends on what it is.
Yeah, well, okay.
So I guess I would think, you and I have done this together, Jodi. So, buying houses together, I think that we've done that. And we've moved a couple of times to move the girls around and, just.
Yes.
And I think that we've made the right decisions, each time.
What about other things? What about career stuff? We're talking not just purchases.
Yeah. Career moves, I guess, through the years, as things have changed, I've made some logic-based decisions, that were the right decisions, that avoided the things that appeared to be sexier than they really were, opportunities that really would have been very short-lived, you know what I mean? And I didn't turn and change with those. But, I got into radio when I was 16 years old. So of course it was a gut call. It was the only thing I've been exposed to, you know what I'm saying? And so maybe emotion, is what's kept me connected to it because it's something I'm passionate about.
Sure.
So, and anytime you're passionate, you'd have to tell me, you know me almost better than me. I will agonize over some decisions.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm one of those, because I grew up in a household that was very, my mother was worried about almost everything. It's really strange because my parents, I learned so many different things from them. One of their, greatest lessons to me was, we've talked about this before, if you buy cheap, you buy twice. So they weren't lavish because we didn't have a lot of money, but they weren't going to waste their money and squander it on the cheapest thing that they could find.
Right.
My mother wouldn't do that with food either. I mean, certain brands, if it wasn't a brand label that she trusted the taste of, she didn't believe in. She would pay 20 cents more for a can of something if the flavor was better than getting the cheap version.
Good.
And so and so you're making choices based on more than just the raw number. But my parents also were, they tended to be afraid of things. And so they were very safe and conservative. And I think I started out that way. And then I realized you're not going to grow at all in this life, in almost every area of your life, if you don't stretch yourself, push yourself, or do something beyond what you slightly believe you can do. Because you're literally only going to achieve what your brain puts the ceiling on.
Correct.
If you tell yourself you can't do something, or you think that you can't because you classify yourself as some person,
you're right.
Guess what? You're going to be that way.
Right.
And so that's why, for me, my decision making has changed over the years. That's where I was going with that. Where, I consider more options. Life is not an either or proposition, and sometimes it's not just three choices. You know what I'm saying? So I really try to push myself, and then eventually I realize, okay, now I've got 80% of the information. It's time to move forward. And then once I've done that, I've done it.
So your answer is
sorry
that you make decisions based on what you're making the decision on. It depends on what the decision is. Yeah. You don't make most decisions on intuition and gut or facts or logic. It's depending on what it is.
Yeah, they all blend together for me because I'm also, I'm a walking contradiction because I'm a big believer in positive vibes and, in putting positive energy out. I think that's the reason when you walk into a room and you treat someone kindly and you greet them, that's an energy that you're putting out there. It's a vibe, and that vibe does create action. So I'm not like 100% left brain. There are things that, that my interest and my hobbies. There are some expensive hobbies that I have moved into on and off over the years because I knew once I did my homework, I could safely exit those hobbies because I could resell those things for the same price I bought them for, which is fun. You know what I'm saying? And so we have so many more tools at our disposal to make decisions today. But you can also drive yourself crazy doing that, right? The choices.
It's decision fatigue.
Right.
What about you, Sam? Do you think you make most of your decisions, big decisions, gut or logic?
Big ones that usually involve money. That's going to cost me some money. It'll be logic.
Good.
It'll be facts, logic, research.
Good.
And then, like Murphy said, it comes down to, this or that. You got to get off the pot and make a decision.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Jodi?
I think I make decisions based on gut and intuition, that's why it lights me up, the story. Now, what I have to force myself to do is look at facts. I have to force myself to the fact. But I'm a gut person. I'm an intuition person. I'm a vibe person. I believe in what sparks you. I believe in that, thing that's unspoken and unseen. Because it's worked for me in my life. I trust my gut. When I meet someone, I trust my gut. Is this person, going to be positive? Is this person someone I don't want to, mingle with? Am I safe? So, those sort of things.
So, but, when it comes to intuition, a lot of that comes from life experience also. So would you say that your 18-year-old self and your 40-year-old self, would the intuition be different between those two based on the experiences you'd had to life to that point? Where you'd
honestly,
be saying,
of course, my intuition is better, older, but I've always trusted my intuition. I can remember instances when I was a little girl, when I was in situations, let's just say with strangers, where I knew this is not my friend. This person is not my friend. This person is I'm going to be careful with myself around this person, and I was correct. So I have always had a very strong intuition. That's why this story lights me up, because I don't know that I make big life decisions based on it, but I can tell you big things in life where I trusted my intuition. One of them being you guys. I knew within a couple of days of working with you two that we could be something.
Was that a good or bad decision?
Remains to be seen.
Your other intuition moment that really jumps out at me is the one that you've told, and you shared this story with the girls when they started dating. Remember?
Oh gosh,
the situation that you got into where you really thought, I need to get away from this guy.
Yeah. The quick version of that story is I went out with a guy I should not have gone out with because I didn't know him. I knew him all of 10, 15 minutes. Really, like in a class at college, and he asked me out, and I went with him, and I got in a vehicle with him, and agreed to go to the movies with him. This is before cell phones and all of that, and he was much older than he told me. He lied to me about his age. He was much older.
Really?
He seemed, he was, and he drove me to his brother's house because he needed to check on something before we went to the movie, and he was looking for a key to get inside because he was getting frustrated and angry that he couldn't find that key. And I was standing there on the carport, looking around, and there was a table. This family had just gone to the beach, and there were sand dollars on the table, and I lifted up a sand dollar, and the key was under there, and I just pushed it down because I didn't want to go in the house with him.
Yeah.
And we left and went to the movie. And after the movie, he brought me home. And I couldn't wait to get away from him. And he was very handsy, I guess would be the word, like inappropriately physical with me. And, a first date, you're supposed to be talking and getting to know someone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he was acting physically like I was already his girlfriend. And I just I just trusted my gut on it, and I got away from him.
Yeah.
Luckily.
Yeah.
Luckily.
And that's a vibe, and that's a vibe,
and that's a gut.
Right?
I believe in listening to it. It may not be right all the time, and it surprises me that I just like the story that people make big life decisions based on gut and intuition. I believe in listening to your inner voice. But still, it goes back to that. Follow your heart, but take your brain with you. Follow your heart, sure.
Yeah.
But think.
Well, you're the one who always says, it's something's a fact and not a feeling. And you know how to separate those two. I think you're very balanced at that. I do think that you soak up, you enjoy everything that you do. That's why the part of you who does gut decisions and spontaneity and all that is so much fun to be around. But you are also a very centered person. You will catch yourself at some point.
Right.
And
is it a fact or a feeling?
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually learned a lot of that from you.
Most things, there are facts about it. About a marriage, there's a fact and there's a feeling. About a relationship, about a friendship that you've lost, or someone that you miss, or a mistake you made. There are facts about the situation and there are feelings, and you have to be able to look at them honestly, openly, and then move forward with whatever decision. Leave the friendship where it is.
Right.
Go back to it. Whatever.
It's funny, as I think I've gotten better at both sides of that as I've gotten older.
Good.
Because when younger, I was more go with the gut, numbers.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I know to look into every aspect of everything. But even with all that stuff, there's times where I want to go with my gut. And because I've had experiences in the past, I think my gut is more fine-tuned now.
Good, as it should be.
Sure,
of course
absolutely.
It does. That's why
I got the numbers, I got the gut. Based on years of life, I can go with the gut because I think this is really going to work.
Yeah, once you've touched the stove and it burns you, you tend not to do that again, and your intuition works, right?
Well, I call it marriage, but yes.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.